Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Ask Me Anything on Studio Live. Today, you can indeed ask me any questions about mixing, recording, iPads, iPhone, digital technology, anything you like at all. If you're here live on the show, all you need to do is put a big Q in front of your question. If you're watching on the replay, don't worry, we love you just as much, but you can't ask me a question because you can't come back in time. We haven't invented time travel yet. So until we do, drop a comment down below and I will definitely get down there. I'm down there all the time answering questions. I actually respond to every single comment on every video. I've been doing it for 6 years and I'm exhausted. No, it is really good because it gives me a lot of insight into what you're struggling with, what I can help you with, what questions you have about mobile recording, and then what I can make videos about. So, it's a cheat. About 90% of my ideas come from you asking questions. There are no silly questions, just silly people like me. So welcome aboard. This is our very casual kind of show that we do here. That's why I'm wearing the hat. And thank you to Russ of the Delicate Giants for this hat. It is super cool. There's no format. There's no structure here. It is just a chance to have a chat and talk about some things. I've got a big list of topics over here that we're going to talk about if we run out of questions. So we've got plenty of backup if that's the case. We'll say good day to some folks who are here live and then we'll dive on into the show. So thank you for being here. Princess LDG, who is first. Yes, get those questions ready. Hello to the one and only Doctor's Orders, who's here. DJ Big Red, thank you for being here as well. I saw Mark Bro sneaking in there. Hello to you, Mark Bro. I haven't seen your name. There you are. Hello to you. Good to have you here. And if you're joining us, please say good day, say hi in the chat. Don't you like the hat? Pretty cool. Pretty cool hat, I think so. So we'll dive straight into some questions, and then as folks join and the notifications go out and the YouTube robots send out their stuff, then we'll continue on. You can, of course, hit the thumbs up button if you think you're going to have fun already, and you can share it. So if you know other folks that may have questions, hit the share button and share the show away. G'day, Gregory O'Sullivan, and hello to Bullet. I hope you are here. They say, thanks for your video showing Voice Recorder Pro. I was able to export MP3. Awesome. Yes, I'll add that to the list because I get asked that question a lot. So export MP3s going on the list because, it's a bit tricky in iOS, but Voice Recorder Pro is the way to go. So we might talk about that a little bit later. And I had another question that I need to add to the list here, which is just coming about iTunes library sharing. Yeah, does anyone still use iTunes? I haven't used it in a while. I should re-explore it a little bit. Hello to Dan Ekberg Music. I hope you are doing well as well. So we've got some questions. We're going to get started and let's crack straight on. Let's go into lusts and loudness. To start with, we'll start with something really complex. So, if you don't know, LUFS is loudness units full scale, which is a measurement of how loud a song is. So when you're mastering a song, there's your RMS, which is I forget what RMS stands for. See, I'm not a technical person. I'm a musician, not a technician. That's what I like to say. But so you've got your RMS signal, which is your peak, basically. So you want your peaks to not be going over 0 dB. That's distorting, that's clipping. Most of us know about that. But what LUFS does is it measures the loudness over the whole song. And it's a little bbit harder to kind of measure in most of the gear that I use. So for instance, I use a lot of GarageBand on iOS. We don't have LUFS metering. So there's a little bit difficult to get a handle on this. So the question that DJ Big Red has is, without getting into the loudness war, what LUFS do you normally aim to achieve when releasing your music through DistroKid to all the streaming platforms? Thanks. So the short answer to this one is it depends, because it can depend sometimes on the style of music. If you've got a full-on metal song that's like a big sausage waveform, or whether you want something a little bit more delicate. But the hack, the way that I go with this is I go to a website called loudnesspenalty.com. This is from Ian Shepherd, and I always forget the name of the developer, but these are some smart dudes, and they've put together this loudnesspenalty.com website. All you do, once you've mastered your song and you've got your final master, you upload it here and it actually detects all that. It tells you how much it may be turned up or turned down by each streaming platform. So let's see how well John's did on his last one. Not StreamYard. Let's go to DistroKid. Let me log into DistroKid. I'll grab my most recent song here. And don't forget, with DistroKid, this isn't sponsored by DistroKid today, but I do use them and they are a sponsor of the channel, full disclosure. With DistroKid, you actually get access to be able to download. You get full access to all of your masters, a complete backup of all of your masters. So I'm going to download this WAV file of my most recent song called Grown, which was mastered by Jade Star. And she actually did a whole video where she mastered this song. So this is her master. So if we drag this from that download into here, what it does is it processes the audio. It doesn't upload it, won't share it, they won't steal your song. And here you can see, look at this. Jade did an amazing job with this master. So what this is telling me is that the overall reduction in decibels, YouTube won't touch it. Amazon won't touch it. Spotify will turn it up by 0.1 dB, a very tiny fractional amount. Pandora will turn it up by 0.5. Tidal won't touch it. Deezer will turn it down by 0.9. And Apple will turn it down 1.9. And that's pretty common. Apple are usually the ones that are going to turn it down the most. But that's a pretty great level for your master. So am I answering your question directly? Not really, because it kind of depends. But what I would do is do a couple of test masters at a couple of different levels, throw them into loudness penalty and see what they do. And you really want to be getting it around about that level where it's not turning it up or down by more than 1 or 2 dB across every different platform. So hopefully that semi answers your question there, DJ Big Red. But thank you for asking. Appreciate you. You also get that information if you use Sonable Limiter. It will tell you how much. There you go. So you've got another option there. So I guess you already had a solution. You probably just wanted a number. And unfortunately, in music, it's very rarely that you just say, just aim for this. I mean, I know there are some numbers out there, but I tend to just go with, find out what the song needs. So it's going to be different. Hello to some folks who have joined us since that first question. Hello to Russ8889. As you can see, I'm wearing a very, very cool hat here. Neon, there's also an app called Neon, which is from 3 Pockets. It's an iOS app, Neon Audio Editor. I believe I have it. I think I downloaded it even. Neon Audio. I can't find it now. Maybe I don't. I thought I bought it when Jade recommended it a while ago. But yeah, there are some plugins and some audio editors that have LUFS measurements as well. Hello to Bullet. Thank you for being here. Who else did I see? I saw Joe Motta. I saw Danny Gable, hello to you. Joe Motta, Danny Gable. So Joshua, who's slotted in there. Yeah, if you're Fat Panda Cat, hello to you. If you do have questions, or if you just want to say g'day, give us a hi. Do like this. Say hi. How you doing? I'm doing well. No, it's very stylish. I'm wearing it out and about and probably confusing people. They're like, who are the delicate giants? And I'm like, well, let me tell you who the delicate giants are. They are cool. All right, next question. This is a good one, and I've got a few topics that we'll talk about later along these lines, but how do you deal with negative people who say insulting things about your music and you as a person? Well, it all comes down to this, doesn't it? The quote that I love and that gives me solace whenever I hear this sort of negativity is that hurt people hurt people. So the main problem here is that people that have been treated poorly, and look, it's not making excuses for people. If some people are just dicks, but a lot of the time it's people that have been hurt and they've been raised or brought up in an environment where it's okay to talk down to people. It's okay to belittle people. It's okay to be abusive towards people. And what they do is they're hurt. So to make themselves feel better, they go out and seek out other people to hurt them as well. So hurt people hurt people. So what I try to do most of the time is throw a little empathy and sympathy their way. Think, hey, sucks to be you. I get it. You shouldn't be coming after me, but it's probably nothing to do with me. It is more to do with you. And when I say you, I mean the person doing the harmful stuff. It is more about them than it ever is about you. Because normal people, and I use the word normal loosely, but kind, caring, compassionate people simply don't behave that way at all. Sometimes if they're younger, so a lot of the times, a lot of the weird comments I get, I'm like, are you 12? You're probably 12. And you shouldn't have a YouTube account because you have to be 13. So that's sort of one side of it. But if it's a grown-ass adult, but they're still behaving in that way, I don't surround myself with people that do that. And the hostility and the conflict, I had it in my list here to talk about. The drama and the conflict. I've been following a couple of things. Like, I usually don't get involved in drama and conflict, but there was one particular drama and conflict that was about a plugin, and one person said a plugin in a particular door did a thing, and one person said it didn't do a thing, and there's blows up into a big thing, and I'm like, who has the time and energy to give a crap about it to that level, and B, what are you doing here, people? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, if you want to use something and it works for you, why are you arguing with other people about whether they should use it or not? What interest, what investment do you have in it? Like, it makes no sense. So I know that was a bit of a long way to go to say, don't worry about it, but really, don't worry about it. Find other communities. And look, you're going to get people in a public space. As soon as you start sharing your music publicly, and YouTube is public, Spotify's public, all these places are public, you are going to get people that do that. But they're going to be the vast minority. The vast majority of folks are going to be supportive, and especially if you choose the right communities to hang out in, they're going to be supportive. If you go to some of the other forums where there's some less compassionate and less empathetic people, then yeah, you're going to have a harder time. But please let me know your tips. For folks that are here live in the chat, let me know what you think about that as well. Basically, most people are saying, yeah, don't worry about them, because they're not the sort of people. Yeah, I'm not a drama person either. Excuse me, I need some coffee. I'm so anti-conflict and anti-drama that it's not funny. To the point where whenever I've done those quizzes where you work out what your conflict resolution style, mine is avoidance. So I'm a card-carrying avoider. So I like to avoid those sort of things. DJ Big Red says, another reply to the question on the screen, you could always beat them with your purse. Just make sure you have the kitchen sink. Yeah, resorting to violence is always an option. Probably not the best, especially when it's someone virtual, because you're just going to be whacking your iPad screen or your computer screen. That's probably not going to work. As an Irishman, I would use cutting humour. Failing that, a headbutt. There you go. Cutting humour or violence. One of the two. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I needed an extra hat for the summer, Russ. I needed an extra hat for the summer. But yeah, look, I do that as well. To the point where, sorry, I'm a bit clippy here today, aren't I? Let's just turn that down a bit. I'm getting a bit excited because I haven't done an AMA for a while, and I really enjoy just having these casual sort of chats. It gets to the point where when people are starting to make negative comments about me, because they'll say things like, oh, GarageBand's a piece of crap and I can't believe you use it, you're a fool. My response is usually, you seem nice, we should totally hang out. Like, I just love that diffusing, because what do they want? That's the other thing. I'll talk about this and then we'll move on. The other thing these people want is a reaction. If they get radio silence, or if they just get a confusing quip back, they got nowhere to go. And I just love confusing. I love confusing teenage trolls, because they don't get it. They don't understand what I'm talking about. And especially because I'm Australian, I'll use some words that they don't really understand. And then they'll be like, what? It would be the same for Irish folks. You'd be like, I don't know. I don't know I couldn't think of any Irish words off, but I'll be like, mate, you're a bloody legend. We should totally hang out for a couple of frothies. And then they'll be like, what are you saying, man? I don't understand. Hello to... I did see some other folks who have dropped on in here, but I can't find them saying hello now. So I apologise if I missed you, if I missed saying hello. Yeah, exactly. It's attention-seeking, and it's unnecessary. G'day, Josh. There it was. I knew I saw someone else drop in here. Hello, Josh. Thank you for being here. Exactly. If you put anything on the internet, you'll get negativity. It's the anonymous nature. Just ignore it. The thing is, I'll say one more thing and then I promise I will actually move in. Top sausage. There you go. Top sausage. One more thing I'll say is that, hang on, what was the point? It's anonymous nature. I can't remember the point that I had there. But yeah, anonymity. People hide behind anonymity, and they put it out there. So yeah, if you ignore people, they'll go away. Sorry, I did have one more point, but I forgot it. Yeah, definitely attention seeking. Let's grab our next question. By the way, if you're just joining us here live, if you do have a question, all you need to do is put a big chunky Q in front of your comment. That will just signal to me that you have a question and we can answer it. By the way, shout out to a couple of folks in the community. Thomas Christ, who's got some family issues at the moment, so I hope you are doing well. Courage and resilience to you, my friend. And Jade Starr, who had to cancel the show today because she's had some issues at the moment. So courage and resilience. By the way, I've decided that thoughts and prayers have now been replaced with courage and resilience. Why? because they're actually going to help. Yeah. All right. Yes, the negative people are still views. Exactly. Brilliant point. Gregory O'Sullivan nailed it. They're still views and they're still engagement and interaction. So what the trolls don't realize is that when they thumbs up and they call me names in the comments, that's two lots of engagement right there. And the old adage of negative attention is as good as positive attention is actually kind of true when it comes to algorithms, because it's why those really hateful, horrible videos that a lot of people put out there get so many views, because so many people hate them. And people deliberately sometimes put clickbaity titles and negative things because they know that people are going to hate watch them and then hate comment. And guess what? They get the same attention. So, all right, the comments, the questions are piling up, so we better get back on board and start answering some of these questions. A quick one here from Princess as well. Do you ever use quotes from famous people to give you ideas for a song? I don't think I've ever used quotes from famous people to give me an idea for a song. I've definitely used concepts that I've heard in other songs to um, kind of create a song theme, I guess. I did famously lift my song New Day. I couldn't think of the last bit to do in sort of the coda of the song, so I just stole two lines from a Queen song and from No Escape from Reality Is This Just Fantasy, and Mrs. Robinson, I think. Or no, The Sound of Silence. So Simon and Garfunkel and Queen. Neither of them have come after me yet, but maybe in the future. But yeah, if other people do, let me know. Sorry, had to cough. Got the right button. Let me know what you do. Does anyone else use famous quotes or use concepts or things? I like to use speed thinking. I'll add that to the list if we get time for it, which doesn't look like we will. We've got lots of questions coming in, so I better continue. But I like to use some speed thinking. So yeah, you could do speed thinking around a quote. So you could just get, I have a dream, and then do a 60-second speed thinking where you think of every word that is relevant to the phrase, I have a dream. Go with that. But thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Josh has a comment on that. To add to that, you'll find a keyboard warriors on these platforms, Twitter, Reddit, and the internet. Yeah, exactly. Keyboard warriors are a bad breed. You need to avoid them. Doctor's orders. Why are you such a cool dude, Pete? Well, you see, no, I'm not, for starters, because I'm Australian, and we have this problem where we can't actually say that we're good at things, even if we are. So I would never be able to say that. But I think why I have improved, I'll rephrase that, Doctor, to why have I improved my confidence over the last 6 years being online on YouTube? It's because I stopped caring. And it all relates back to exactly what Princess was talking about before. I used to care way too much about what other people think. And then I realized that the opinion of strangers on the internet is about the least useful thing. This was the point I was going to have before, actually. What I actually hate is when people stop creating music because of the feedback they get from people on the internet. Because I don't care how good your music is. I don't care who you are and what you do. There's no need to ever stop. Even if you are a 1 out of 10, if you keep trying, guess what? You're going to be a 2 out of 10, a 3 out of 10. You're probably going to, scrape your way to a 5 out of 10 if ratings were even a thing. But the thing is, people that come at you when you're starting out and try to knock you down, all they're doing is getting attention or trying to reduce the competition because they think maybe they think that you've actually got potential. And they're jealous because they know as soon as you polish that piece of coal, you're going to end up being a diamond. So I know it wasn't answering your question at all, Doctor, but that's what this show's all about. Pete's got natural. I did. I just stopped. I stopped being reserved. I just started showing and Mars would know because he's seen the evolution. Not been a revolution, but it's been an evolution over the last few years. We've gone from being too worried about what people think, reading every comment, taking everything to heart, to probably pitching too far the other way, where now I don't care enough. Exactly. It's the English in me that means that I can't say anything nice about myself. Still Illa says, I reward a lot of Smith lyrics to the sound hip hop, one line in every song in my life. Oh, there you go. Very cool. So yeah, Smith lyrics. I like it. Yeah, just slide a different lyric in there. Alrighty, let's grab some more questions. We've got that's the same question, so I can just remove one of those from Wind Game. I'm gonna have a drink of coffee. You can read that, and then I'll read it out loud for folks who can't see the screen. So, Weird Gene says, my question's around copyright. Can I simply upload my songs to a couple of platforms and be pretty safe? Even 10-second riffs, instrumentals like that for video intro music and stuff. Yeah, so copyright is weird and interesting and intricate and complex. So, and I say all that to say that it's not really any of those things. So I use, and I think I saw Princess LDG say this, my advice is always to hide in plain sight and do exactly what you're saying there. So there's kind of two extremes of copyright management here, I guess. My way, which is to do everything publicly. Obviously, not everyone's going to have a YouTube channel where you're going to write your songs physically on a live stream, but you can do similar sorts of things. So once you've got a demo down, put it out there on YouTube and put, even if you've got it unlisted, that can actually help in the future. If there's any sort of dispute, you can say, hey, check that this time-stamped an unlisted video of my song from the 12th of September. And if someone says, oh no, I wrote it on the 30th of September, you can go, well, look at this, sucker. So I hide in plain sight. And look, no one's ever ripped off any of my songs. Am I going to regret that one day if someone does and I haven't actually gone through the official formal process? Maybe. The other way to go is to be super tight-lipped, to never share anything, to put nothing out there public, to keep it all to yourself, and then register with the Copyright Office in your country. It's usually a bit of an annoying, boring process. It's usually free, I think, in most places, most countries. I could be wrong on that because I've never done it, because I've never chosen to do it. So if you want to actually copyright your songs, a lot of people swear by it. They say, no, as soon as I write a song, I copyright it. The thing is, here in Australia and in most parts of the world, you own the copyright of a song as soon as you've written it. It all comes down to the proof, doesn't it? Which is what you're asking here. So being able to prove that you actually wrote something and that you own it, yeah, I've just found over time that the best idea is to hide in plain sight, to just have your stuff out there. And if people want to come at it, then they do. But yeah, I've got a bunch of videos. So if you want more info on that, what I would do is I would go to the YouTubes and I'll follow along here. Go to YouTube and just search my name. So if you just go Pete Johns Copyright, probably this one here, this top video is the most detailed video. So it's 9 minutes of me ranting about all the things to do with copyright, why you should do it, why I use hide in plain sight, and all that jazz. So go and check out that video if you wanted more information. But yeah, I rarely see anyone get into trouble. And you know what? If you are capable, this is the other thing I say, if you're capable of writing a song that's going to be so good that someone else is going to steal it, then why you're going to be able to write another one. I know that we're in this society where you think there's viral, and Eminem said, oh, you only got one shot. I just think that's BS these days. I think that you've got unlimited retries. And the world of home recording, mobile recording, and all the rest, you've literally got unlimited retries on stuff, which is cool. All right. Answer this quick one from Still Illa. How do you take your coffee? So I'm a bit strange with my coffee. So there is my. Can you see? No, you can't quite see the inside of coffee. But my coffee, I have a DeLonghi coffee machine. So here in Australia, we're big fans of espresso coffee because we've got a lot of Italian background, and my wife's family are Italian. So espresso coffee. So I get a shot of espresso, and then I warm up. This is going to be weird. Stay with me here. I warm up half almond milk and half rice milk. Because rice milk by itself is too kind of weird tasting. Almond milk by itself is too almondy. So if I go 50-50 rice and almond milk, heat that up, and then put it in there. I'm not lactose intolerant specifically, but I don't love a lot of dairy. So yeah, it just creates this delicious blend. I use the fancy barista style rice and almond milk, and then I put it in there. So yeah, a little bit challenging to get this. If I'm at a cafe, I'll just ask for like a soy latte or something like that. But yeah, delicious coffee. How do you take your coffee? That's a good question. I like it. I'll see. Once again, yeah, if you've got more questions, we've got more of them coming in. So please throw them in there. Yeah, it definitely varies country by country. So do check what it's like in your country, and then do that. But it's pretty good. It's all right. +1 for the almond milk. Yeah, some of the almond milk is good. I know. Yeah, look, it's all carbs, but I'll hit the gym later and work it all off. Bars. That's going to happen. Black coffee. There you go. Yeah, black all the way. You're hardcore when you drink black coffee. Love almond milk. Yeah, almond milk is good. Dan says it was $55 a song in the US, close to $100 for a batch, maximum 10 songs. Yeah. Look, I just don't. It's a bit like Content ID. I don't think it's quite worth the cost. The risk reward thing is not quite worth the cost. Joe Barry says coffee is disgusting. You stick with the scotch and chocolates. Joe and Barry, absolutely. So I've answered that one. Let's grab this next one. This is from Nevin Pisa. Says, Pete, love your tips and videos. Can you recommend a post-apocalyptic studio setup when Wi-Fi disappears due to war, chaos, nuclear, etc.? What do we use then to record our demos? Oh, that's a really interesting question. If you are in a bunker, if you are a, what are those people called? Preparatists? No, there's a name for them. There's people that that at the moment are going out and like building bomb shelters under their houses and no, there's a word for it. Someone will know it. But yeah, so if you didn't have the ability to have Wi-Fi, well, see, here's the thing. You can pretty much get away without it. I guess the only problem would be like backing up your files and stuff. But if I had my iPad, which I do, which has 512 gigabytes of storage, and I've got my iPhone, which also has 512 gigabytes of storage, I'd be making music for weeks and months just on that storage. Wouldn't be able to back it. I'd be very nervous because I wouldn't be able to back it up to the cloud if there was no internet or no Wi-Fi or anything. But yeah, if I was in an underground bunker, it would basically be this room. So this room has in it, it has my Mac Mini, it has my iPad and my iPhone. A prepper. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, preppers. Thank you, Killabu, Gregory, and Fat Pat. Or Survival. Yeah, Survivalist, I think, is like the more normal one, and then there's like the full-on preppers that are actually out there like getting scrap iron and hoarding it, thinking that in the future when the currency systems collapse that will be the currency. They'll be like, I've got a rusty bike frame and I would like to trade it for your cow. Maybe it could happen. I don't know. You don't know, man. Where were we before I went off on that red? Yeah, so I think your studio can be completely self-contained, and to the point where, and we'll talk about this in a bit, I wouldn't update your software all the time. So iPad OS 16.1 is a bit of a disaster for some folks, so I would steer clear of that right now. Mac OS Ventura, I haven't updated to yet because I'm working here. I'm letting other people be the guinea pigs because I got work to do. So yeah, I think you can basically have the same thing that you would have if you've got a bedroom studio. If it needed to be a bomb shelter studio, I guess it would be kind of the same thing. You don't really need a connection. What I would do is make sure that you got yourself a heap of samples. So just go nuts. If you say you had a day left, I would go to freesound.org. I would just download every sample and every sound and every loop and every beat that I possibly could, just because you wouldn't have access to the outside world to collect any new samples or anything like that. So that's what I go there. We'll pause to talk about this because I wanted to tap into it. Yeah, iPad OS and iOS 16. So iOS 16 on your iPhones is pretty okay now. I did a video at the time saying don't update to iOS 16 to start with. Let other people be the guinea pigs. I did, and they were, and then everything is cool. And now I would say, yep, go ahead and update to iOS 16. iPad OS 16.1 has had a few issues. So because they've put in this new, I always forget the name of it, the new screen sharing thing that they've got in there, that's been added now. It's only really useful for folks on M1 iPads, and a lot of those people are saying it's not really that useful. And the one useful feature that I thought that iPad OS 16.1 would give us, which is external screen support, is A, only available on M1 and M2 iPads, and B, not part of it yet. They had to leave it out, and they're not adding that till later in the year. So there is nothing that I can see. Between 15.7 and 16.1, there is nothing I can see within that would convince me to update. And I've heard from a lot of folks that things aren't working. I heard from, and I've forgotten your Arnie, I think it was, who sent me an email yesterday saying Final Touch, which is my favorite mastering app for iOS, is not working in 16.1. And they've logged it with Positive Touch, Positive Grid, and hopefully that will get fixed up. But yeah, I would steer clear of updating to iPad OS 16.1 yet. Wait to hear from other folks and see how things are going. And then if everything's hunky-dory, then maybe you can go with it. But it's always a good idea to hold off to start with, in my humble opinion. All right, let's continue on. Yeah, we answered that one. Hi, how do you know you are good enough? Ooh, how do you know you are good enough to post online? The good news is that good enough is subjective. Music is subjective. This is why I hate reality TV shows about music. This is why I will never watch a The Voice or the Idols or The Talent or whatever those shows are called, because I don't believe in ranking and rating and winners and losers when it comes to music, because it doesn't have to be. There's enough things in life where there's winners and losers. Sport, I love sport, but there's winners and losers. Jobs, if you apply for a job, there's one vacancy and 5 applicants. There's going to be winners and losers. Music, can we just let music be music? Can we let all music exist? And then if you dig this music, you go listen to that. And if you dig that, you go listen to that. Why do we have to rate and rank music like we do everything else? I don't personally enjoy it, and I don't think it's that relevant. So how do you know that you're good enough to post online? There really is no good enough. I think that you should, like my view is, it's not about when you're good enough, it's when you are comfortable enough. So I think rather than look at it as a quality thing, you need to find the place. And we talked about it earlier in the show. It may be that you don't want, and this is cross-promotion time here, folks. Down in the description of this video, there's a couple of places. There's the Discord group, which is amazing. Princess LDG hangs out there. Josh hangs out there. A lot of cool people there. Only cool people allowed. No dissing, no hate, no drama allowed in that Discord server. So if you want a nice, safe place where you can share your first song and you know that at least a few people are going to listen to it, can give you some feedback, can help you get along, try that out. They've also got the Facebook group. So if you're a Facebook user, the Create, Record, Release Facebook group is linked down there, and that's another place that you can safely share your music. Because, again, yes, I know what it's like. Once you start sharing your stuff out there. But here's the problem. If you don't share until you're good enough, how are you going to get the feedback you need to get good enough? That's the question I have, because you need to share your music to get feedback, to find out what's working for you and what you need to improve upon. And if you're looking for that feedback, those groups are absolutely fabulous for that. I know many folks have improved their music and are much happier with their output now because they have tapped into those groups. So my recommendation is join us, won't you? We have fun. It is very cool. Once again, we've got more questions coming in. I will tag them as they come in. If you put a big Q in front of them, I've got yours there, Nate, but if you put a big Q in front of your question, it'll make it easier for me to see it as well. All right. Mark says, updated my iPhone and my old iPad 5th gen, but I'm waiting for the new iPad 9th gen and Mac. Yeah, which exactly, spot on. If you've got older devices, if you've got not your daily drivers, as we call them, go ahead and update now. But if you've got a daily driver, I would recommend not updating without that. Very cool. I think we can elevate you to the queen of Discord. There you go. Princess LDG is the queen of Discord. Absolutely. So do jump over there. Dan Ekberg Music says, Pete, have you ever been featured or had a song featured on a blog? Have you ever attempted submitting to music blogs? This, Dan, is my weak point, shall we say. This is my kryptonite, is promoting my own music. Similar to what we said before, I've never prioritized the promotion of my own music, which is not a good thing because I get asked about it. So I've always said this. I've always said I am a music educator, so I want to help folks with the creating, recording, and releasing. Once it's released, that's not my forte. That's not my bag, baby. But I think I need to learn more about what I normally do these days is handball folks over to someone like Damien Keys. And I know Friggsy mentioned he did a video recently about like TikTok organic promotion. He's got his like 21-day single release strategy. He talks a lot about submitting to playlists and submitting to radio stations and to blogs and to online forums and all the places. So I guess I'll answer it by saying no, I haven't, but I've never really tried. But I did have a chat with Andy Goldsby recently, and he actually talked about more the radio station side of things, but he gave some good tips. So if folks are looking for this, and I'll try to remember to add it to the show notes as well, but I'll put a link in the chat right now. So if you're watching live, grab this, or if you just search my name, Pete Johns, Andy Goldsby, over on the YouTubes, you're going to get this video here. So I chatted with Andy Goldsby, who's part of a band called the Indigo Sunsets, and we chatted all about promoting, featuring, going from... actually, that one was about studio to live. That was a different one. I got the wrong video. See, I can't find it. He also chatted to Jade Star, but yeah, there's a heap of different places online. I think we did also talk about that when I talked to Andy about going from the studio to live music, which was also interesting. But yeah, I would look elsewhere for now. I don't have the experience with it, but I'm listening and I'm learning myself. So maybe by the time I do my next release, so maybe by Songtember 2023, I'll actually be better at releasing my own music. But always love taking on board any feedback that other folks provide as well. Oh, let's see. Josh says, not to give a massive anecdote, but before I joined the Discord server, I hadn't really put out much. After I joined, I released a whole album and now working on EP, The Confidence. Yeah, so the confidence that I'm assuming you got from there. Yeah, with being around people that give constructive criticism is amazing. Yeah, awesome. Very good stuff. I'm not sure I understand. You never do, Siri. It's fine. You're good. It's not a problem. But before I leave, I just wanted to say a big thank you for your tutorials. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for dropping on by. Always good to have different folks around here. And I know for the folks in the UK and Europe, it is very late, so I apologise that we didn't do this a bit earlier. I'm trying to try a few different time slots and things as well. But yeah, it can be challenging to find that. PT, I've got your question tagged as I do with you, Nevin. So I'm just letting you know that we got a queue, and I've added your questions to the queue. You also still illa. Biggie Smalls is the illest. I think I said that before. I'm a broken record. Friggsy says, I like Damien Keys, but I do think some of his advice is based serious younger bands. Yeah, I really don't think too many people would be interested in looking at my ugly. See, I'll tell you again. We're going to get off on tangent, but we got a couple of hours here, folks. I've allocated 2 hours, and it looks like we got lots of questions, and I got lots to talk about. So let's hang out. Pull up a chair, grab a beverage. Let's have a chat. I vividly remember when I was younger, the reason that I didn't pursue my music more when I was in my early teens is that I looked at what was on the radio and what was on it wasn't MTV here in Australia, but video hits and all these things. And everyone was like really fit and hot and good looking. And I looked at me and I'm like, I do not fit the mold of pop star or rock star. So I should just give up. And that was complete bullshit. These days, thankfully, and that was that was sort of early 90s, and grunge and alternative kind of changed a lot of that, and that's why I started a three-piece alternative rock band and played gigs and stuff and just didn't care through sort of the mid-late 90s. But yeah, there is and this is why, again, why I really dislike all the idols and the talents and all these sort of things. And I really dislike a lot of the pop music culture because it sells. Like, if you've watched a music video lately, my goodness, the gap between, and look, I'm going to sound like an old man here because I am, the gap between like softcore porn and a music video is very slim these days. Like, ever since Miley Cyrus started licking wrecking balls, it all just went downhill from there, didn't it? But I think it's sending mixed messages towards people that says the image is more important than the music. And look, I get it, because video is important, short form video is important these days in music. I say it myself, it is. But I think you can be funny and quirky and different and cool instead of having to be hot and sexy and like pleasing to the eye in any other way. So at least I hope so. Otherwise, there's no hope for us, Frixie. But yeah, it's interesting. There's an artist called Jax who has a song called Victoria's Secret, which I played a cover of quite badly on my Happy Hour show, but it's a great song and it really sends exactly that message, which is that, yeah, like we're told how you're supposed to look and how you're supposed to be, and it's all just BS at the end of the day. Exactly. Liam Gallagher, Ian Brown, Tom York, need I say more? Mick Jagger, Motley, what's his name? The bloke that eats bats. Osborne. Yeah. You don't need to. So it's not actually a thing. But anyway. Hello, the Mixed Club. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, there you go. All right. Thank you for being here. Clayton Von Clues has dropped on in. Thank you for being here, Clayton. I hope you are well. Yeah, look, it's hard. It's hard work, isn't it? Because you see what's put out there, and it's easy to think that you have to fit the mold, whereas I say break the mold. I say F the mold, to be very honest. especially the mold in my bathroom, which is growing by the day. Uh, what if I record something, put it out there, and don't know if I can recreate it? Improvised recording sessions. Yeah, interesting one. There you go. I've never had this question before, but yeah, what if you improvise something? What if you capture lightning in a bottle and you can never recreate it? Well, then you have lightning in a bottle, and you end up being happy that you did that. I did this with a song, a song called "New Beginning." I did. And ever since I wrote this song, because I wrote it on electric guitar and then I recorded it and then I did this like massive sort of drop D metal bit at the end. And I've been trying to recreate that on acoustic guitar because I like to play my songs acoustically ever since, and I just can't do it. So I got to the point where I just went, stuff it. It just won't be played. It's an electric song. It'll sit there as an electric song. I basically stopped trying to force it. So sometimes, yeah, you do have those improvised moments. You do have those moments where you capture lightning in a bottle and you put it in your recording and you can never recreate it. Enjoy it. If people say, hey, can you play that? Say, nope, I can't, because I was just on that day and it was an improvised thing, and here it is forever. So I know that's not probably the answer you want. The other way you could do is obviously to listen to it again and again and again. So that's what I tried to do. And look, I've done that with a couple of songs where if you just listen to them over and over and over again, you'll eventually get to the point where you get a bit of the groove of it. But yeah, sometimes, especially things like guitar solos, yeah, never recreate them again. It's a challenge. So I hear ya. I hear ya loud and clear. Let's grab another I'll just check, make sure we have none other that we need to tag. Yes, I'll tag yours, PT. I've tagged your question there. If anyone else has anything else, please go there. Please put Q in front of it. Kahalu Rocks. Hello to you. Says, I go through this all the time, record something and have to go back and figure out. Totally. And here's another tip for you. Slow it down. So especially if it's a guitar solo or something like that, slow down your recording. If you're an iOS user, there's a fabulous little app. It's about $10 called Audio Stretch. And it does this really well. I'll give you a quick look. But if you're just trying to slow something down to hear it, you can actually use Audio Stretch here. So what you can do with Audio Stretch is import any audio file. So let's do an example here. Let's browse and we'll import just a random WAV file. What's something that we can grab? Let's grab my, is there any of my actual songs here? My song Lucky. Let's bring this in here. So if we play this here, it's going to be at 1 time speed and the standard pitch. So turn it up. So I'll just go to a part where there's...
My kids are still asleep. Well, maybe I am too. Skip the coffee.
So let's just say that there was a really complex phrase in here that I really wanted to learn. If I throw here into Audio Share, what you can do is you can drop the speed. So let's say I wanted to make this half the speed. So I wanted to learn this complicated part.
Sleep on the plane today. Check my bag. Have I packed what I will need?
Fun fact, that's exactly what I sound like after 4 beers. Yes, truth. The other thing you can do with this is also change the pitch. So this can be a bit of fun. So if you want to try, say you've got a song and you're like, what would this song be like if I played it in a different key? You can say, let's bring this one up, say 3 semitones. Sound like this.
I'll see, because that's my preference. It keeps me separate from...
But it doesn't change the speed. So it's a handy little app to have in your iPad arsenal if you are yes, I said arse. If you're an iPad musician. It's very cool, very fun to use. Sounds like I know, sometimes I feel like that. First thing in the morning, half the speed. Absolutely. Righty. Yes, GarageBand has the same function. Program, I'll convert that to tab. Audio Stretch. Yes. It's for the win. So I'm not sure what that's related to, but yeah, GarageBand has similar functions for some things, but not for others. I better get back to the questions because we've got a bunch. Are there any programs out there that can accurately score my music? I guess that's a flow on from the other question, and I've never I don't read music that well. I'll be really honest with you. GarageBand Mac, I believe, has a scoring function, but I think it's only for MIDI music. Someone will be able to correct me on this one, and I don't know is the short answer. I know Logic has quite detailed scoring, Logic Pro on Mac, and GarageBand on Mac has limited scoring for at least for MIDI. I think it can produce a score from a MIDI track, because that's obviously a lot easier than an audio track. But if folks have answers to that one, I'm going to have to leave that one hanging there for other folks to answer, if you don't mind, because we've got a heap of questions coming in. So hopefully someone can send you. There you go. Yeah, GarageBand has scoring, yes, for MIDI. So there you go. Reaper does have scoring as well, but I think it's only for MIDI. I think you'd pretty much, if it's audio, you have to convert to MIDI before anything can score it, because it needs to know what the note is and what the note length is, and that's really hard with a WAV file. So yeah, I think GarageBand Mac for MIDI looks like what everyone's saying. Yeah, just MIDI. But there are some sort of audio to MIDI converters and plugins and ways that you can get that. But if you've got MIDI tracks, and I think I'm almost positive it's the same with Reaper. So you need some way to get your audio to MIDI if you are doing that. And Logic is more comprehensive, says Fat Panda Cat. Alrighty. Next question here is from El Maj. Says, went to bare switch by making GarageBand and combining the files, but at one point all there was reverb, and I checked the slider for reverb and deco, and it was turned completely down. I'm not quite following the question, mate. Went to bare switch by making GarageBand and combining the files. Not quite sure. Are you merging files? Merging files in GarageBand and getting reverb on them when you don't want the reverb on them? Might be the master reverb or track reverb. There are two different spots for reverb in GarageBand. Might have to get you to re-ask the question, because I'm not quite following that one. So please feel free to ask it again here. All right. Hello, Luke Roberts. Hope you're doing well. Yes, you can write it out in Reaper. Yeah, Reaper's definitely got MIDI options as well. Nate Harlow says, hi there, Pete. I have a question. I recently recorded a multi-track song on GarageBand, and it sounded okay through the iPad, but it turned out it was really soft and hardly generating any signal. So I couldn't record it with any other instruments because they were way too loud. What did I do? Oh, so that's the second part. So I couldn't record with any other instruments because they were way too loud. What did I do wrong? Interesting, that one. So there's a couple of things, Nate, GarageBand does. So it's weird that it's too soft. I'd have to probably have more details about it in terms of why it would be too soft. What GarageBand does is when you export, so I'm assuming you're exporting your file, what GarageBand will actually do is it'll auto-normalize. So it'll take the volume of your track and turn up the loudest sound up to 0 dB, which is the loudest it can be. So let's give you a quick example here. So let's just say I've just got a track here, which is just a drummer track that we'll use for this example over here. So if we play this. So now if we export this one, you can see it's actually clipping there. So it's going to be too loud. But let's just say that if you had a song where you'd turned the volume of the instruments down like this, and it was really soft, when you export it, it actually will increase the volume. So I'll give you an example here. So if we come out here and we grab, where did that one go? There it is. So also new track, and we just come in here and we share it. We share it as a song file, as an uncompressed wave, and we just want to open it in because we want to put it into audio share. If you don't have audio share, you probably should. We'll just wait for this to export. But yeah, just to answer you, we'll do it first and then we'll answer. So most people have the problem where you can see here, see how it's put the volume right up? It's increased the volume there quite heavily. Now, if you're doing all this, and the problem may be that you've got loud parts in your song. So if there's bits of your song that are loud, the rest of it may be too quiet. So balancing the volume of your track to try and get them all at sort of similar sizes. So let's just go back to this jazz track that I created earlier in the week. So when we play this back, so you can see here that nothing there is kind of sticking out. But if we did something like turn the drums way up, what this will do, it would now, if I exported that, all the drums would be loud, but all the other instruments would be quieter. So getting the mix right of your track is important, before you actually do that. The other thing is maybe if it's things like vocals and guitars, maybe you need some compression on them. So maybe they've got too much dynamic range. Maybe there's too much up and down of the volume, and you need to use something like compression or volume limiting to increase the volume. So a couple of ideas, not something that is easy to kind of diagnose without a bit more detail, but yeah, hopefully there's a couple of things in there that might point you towards things that you can play around with. But go over to the GarageBand users Facebook group, or if you're not a Facebook user, go to the Discord server down in the description and ask over there, because there's a lot of very smart and talented folks that can help you out. Alrighty, let's grab our next question. Let's grab our next question. Oh, I've got another one that I need to tag in there. I've just tagged your question, treatment in progress. And you've got two of them. I've just tagged both of your questions, so I found both of those there. Let's grab this one from Still Illa. Continue to drop 5 dB. Oh no! Okay. I found it. I've pieced it together. If you use a mastering service, do you still think it's a good idea to use a mastering app to drop 5 dB for headroom? So if you use a mastering, so it really depends on what sort of stage of the process you're using a mastering service for. Yeah, if you're exporting, so say you're using GarageBand, you would want to drop it. You do want some headroom. So, for instance, I know Jade Starr does mastering on her show every week for her Patreon folks. So when I export a song, I use a trick in GarageBand to manually create headroom. So there's a trick that you can use. I'll see if I can find the video. Export GarageBand trick. See, I have to search for my own videos by using weird words, and now I'm not going to be able to find it. That's really embarrassing. Export too loud. There it is. Okay, so I use this one. That's not that one. I use this volume export hack, where you put a really loud noise at the start. That means that the rest of it will be down by like 5 or 10 dB. So the short answer, I guess, to this one is yes, you always want a little bit of headroom when you're doing mastering. It's not as bad as you think, though, because even in the examples I did before, if you export your song, even if it auto-normalizes, what most mastering apps will allow you to do, or what a mastering engineer can do, is just turn down the overall input volume and then add in whatever they want to put, like EQ or compression, multiband compression limiting, and then use that additional headroom. The only problem is if limiting or compression's been added to your final mix, then when you go to master, you're basically going to be double limiting and double compressing. It's going to sound like trash. So you want to make sure that your exported final mix is not too hot, so you don't have bits where it's potentially clipping and it's auto limiting those down, especially if you're using GarageBand. So sorry, I know that was a bit of a roundabout way to answer that, but mastering should be a final thing. So if you are sending it out to mastering, that should be it. So final mix, you should have usually about 10 dB if you can of range at the top. So limiting up to minus 10 dB, and so that when you do your mastering, you've got plenty of space to play around with that. That would be my recommendation. So Guzzo of Oz, hello to you. Hello Tremor Bear, two of our wonderful regulars from around this community. I hope you are doing goodly. Goodly's a word, I'm telling you. I'll just make sure that I've tagged any other questions. Once again, if you're just joining us live and you do have questions, please put a Q in front of your question. I've just grabbed yours, GJE, and Princess, I've grabbed your question there as well. Good night, Frigsy. Yes, please. I know our European and UK folks, if you need to head off, just make a note of the spot you got up to, and then jump on back in tomorrow and catch the rest of the show. Alrighty. Nevon Pesa says, what is your favorite microphone for vocals? It is this and this. I have two. I have the AKG D5 and I have the Audio-Technica AT2020. Why two? Because if I'm doing a quieter vocal where I need a lot of precise sound, I will use the condenser mic. So a condenser mic uses phantom power. It's very sensitive, which means it's great for quieter stuff. It's not amazing for really loud rock vocals. If I want a really loud rock vocal, I use this, a dynamic microphone. Doesn't need phantom power, takes a lot louder signals, so it won't sort of clip or get any harshness if you're just yelling into it in a rock vocal. So yeah, they're my two choices, and have been for quite some time. I've been using both of these in tandem for a while. So what I say to folks, if you've got $200 burning a hole in your pocket right now, you really can't go wrong. If you grab an Audio-Technica AT2020 and an AKG D5, you'll have the absolute best of both worlds when it comes to microphones, because you can use these for, if you say you've got a really loud guitar amp, throw this in front of it. That'll do a great job. So you've got some intricate finger picking on some acoustic guitar, throw this in front of it. You've got a female vocalist comes in, probably want a condenser. You got a big loudmouth dude like me that comes in, wants to yell. You've got a dynamic. So both of those are over on my gear guide. What I'd recommend you do is go to studiolivetoday.com/gear, and you'll see all of my gear recommendations. You can click through to all of the affiliate links. Those are affiliate links, so if you do make a purchase, they break off a chunk and send it my way. But then you've got my whole mobile setup here. Everything I use for my mobile recording, including what we just spoke about there, the AKG D5, this one here, $115 right now. You can usually get it around that $100 mark. Check them out. Second-hand ones are good on Amazon or eBay. And then the other one I use is down here, which is the Audio-Technica AT2020, which should be $99 unless something's changed. There you go, $99. Now, of course, US dollar bucks, so a little bit different if you're in a different part of the world. But yeah, you really can't go wrong if you've got two microphones. And if you're just getting one, probably go the condenser. Condenser's probably a little more versatile because you can always just get a bit further away from a condenser and turn the input gain down and still get a good sound. If you've got a quiet sound, you've got a dynamic, the noise you can get sometimes. So if you've got a really quiet vocal, sometimes you have to turn the gain up so much that you get hiss and background noise, and that's no bueno. So I would always go a condenser first. It's why they're the most popular microphones out there. All right. PT, I've got your question 3 times, so I'm going to remove that one, and then grab this one. So they say, how do I master my tracks on iPhone GarageBand for free? I'm trying to make my song sound as good as possible, but I just don't know how. What a great question. We will answer that in just a moment after some water is consumed. There we go. Alrighty. CAD mics rule. My dream mic is the discontinued VX2. Yeah, look, you could talk about microphones for days, couldn't you? A lot of people are very into their particular microphones. Yeah, AKGs are fantastic and not overly pricey, indeed. There's a lot of options out there. Anything by AKG, Audio-Technica, Shure make fabulous microphones as well, of course. So yeah, there's a heap of options out there. Just try not to buy the really cheap ones. Those Amazon specials where it's like $40 for a whole microphone kit. You get what you pay for. Trust me. And what I say is that sometimes your iPhone or your iPad mic is about as good as some of those crappy condenser microphones. So save up a little bit and try and buy something from at least the $50, $60. You can get cut down versions of these, but if you buy them from a brand name, you know you're getting something decent. So I would always do that. Hello, Rena here. I've got your question. I've tagged it, so we'll get to that in a little while. We're answering questions in order that they come on in, which is why we're going to answer this one here that we're about to answer. So how do I get my master my tracks on iPhone for free? There's a couple of great ways that I like to do this. You can do it directly in GarageBand. So one way that I recommend in GarageBand that you can do is you can export your track, bring it back into GarageBand iOS, and then master directly in there using some of the plugins. Some of the plugins that you'll want to use are things like your Visual EQ. There is also a limiter built in here, the audio unit extensions, the ones that are from Apple. There is a peak limiter, this one here, that you can actually use, that actually works really well for mastering. So you can use that in conjunction with some compression and some EQ. So you can do it for free directly there in GarageBand. The other things that you can use are apps, and there are a heap of apps, and it depends on how much you want to spend and how much detail you want to go with. So the easiest by far is something called Audio Master Pro. I think it's about a $10 or $15 app at the moment. And what this one does is it just gives you presets. So it just analyzes your audio. We're not rating you right now. And you've literally got, you determine your type of music. So if it's a folk song, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, which is like kind of gentle, medium, and hard mastering. And then you hit play.
Because we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it figured out. Yes, we're all just a work in progress. Nobody's got it. Nobody's got it.
All you have is the ability to turn up and down your gain and select which one of these presets. All these knobs are just there for show. They do nothing. So Audio Master Pro is a really easy and effective way to get some mastering. The other app that I love and is kind of the next level up, I think it's about $15. It's from our friends at Clevergrand, and it is called Grand Finale. And you can see here you get a lot more control over this. So you've actually got control over your compressor, you've got your multiband, you've got your stereo adjustment there, and your EQ. So you can actually do this. Heap of presets as well, so you can use your presets, but same sort of deal.
Because we're all just a work in progress.
So you get much better monitoring here in Grand Finale. You can actually see what's happening there, and you can make all your adjustments. And the granddaddy, the one that I like to use more often than not, is a little app called Final Touch. And this is what we we're talking about earlier in the show, that Final Touch from Positive Grid is currently apparently not supported in iPad OS 16. So do not update if you want to use this one. But this has all the stuff. This one's like a mastering console. You've got your pre-EQ, you've got reverb, you've got your dynamics, stereo imaging, your post-EQ, and a maximizer, which is your final limiter. And this gives you amazing control. So you've got input gain and output gain there. So if you're, say, exporting from GarageBand and it's too loud, you can change the input gain to go down, give yourself some headroom. Works really, really well. So Final Touch is my third recommendation. And then there's also the free services that you can get it done through. So BandLab is actually pretty darn amazing. They are a previous sponsor of this channel. So again, full disclosure on that one. But BandLab have a great free mastering service. So if you go to bandlab.com, I'll give you a very quick demo of what you'll get over there. I'm just going to log myself in and put my password in. You don't need to know my password. You'd probably like to. No. So yeah, we'll go to bandlab.com, and what you can do is you can create songs directly here, or you can just import your songs into here. But there is a mastering. I haven't used this in a while. I've got to remember where to go. We'll just go into the create section here. No, library. That's where it is. Sorry, I knew it was around there somewhere. And you can actually come in here and grab, say, my track here. And you can actually go into the mastering plugin. So you can upload your full WAV file directly from GarageBand, put it into here. You can use this. There is a web version as well. An app version. And here is. And you can see that there are 4 different versions. There's Universal, Fire, Clarity, and Tape. And you can flick between the original and the mastered version. And then you can export it. You can apply it and then save your mastered file. So that's probably the best of the online ones. And it's 100% free. There's also places like eMastered and Lander. They're paid services. Even though that you can get free sort of trials, you'll get like compressed MP3s if they're free through Lander and eMastered. So there you go. You asked for a way and I gave you like 14 ways, but there's plenty of other options that you have there for doing that. Lursen Mastering Console is cool. Yeah, exactly. It's $100. $100 for that one. So yeah, you probably want to steer clear of that. Shure SM57 and 58 are indeed. I've got Shure SM57 that I use as well, and SM58 is basically the same as this. It's almost the exact same specs as the AKG D5. If you're looking for a handheld vocal microphone, you can't go wrong with that as well. Alrighty. Once again, if you do have questions, we're going to continue on through here. We've still got another hour, so we should be able to get plenty of these answered. But if you want to add to the growing list, simply just put the word question or a big Q in front of your question, and we'll answer as many as we can. Like this one from RK Harley. How do you know if your song are mixed to the best they can be? Every tutorial says something slightly different. I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad you said exactly that, because you're right. Depending who you listen to and on what day, you'll get something different. And that is because mixing and music is an art form. It is not a science. Yes, there are some scientific elements to it. So understanding compression, understanding EQ, knowing what these things actually do, there's some science to it. But at the end of the day, every song is different. So every song, especially if you're using vocals or guitars or live instruments, you're going to record them through different microphones. You're going to record them at different volume levels. You're going to do something different every single time. So mixing does become this thing. And we were talking earlier in the show, I'm not sure if you were around, we were talking earlier in the show about the amount of drama and conflict that comes up between people because they think their way of cooking an egg is better than someone else's way. And the truth of the matter is, there is no right, wrong, good, bad, best, not best for most things. For some things, don't clip your signal. Like, don't get horrible distortion. Maybe don't use a $10 microphone that came with your phone. But again, sometimes you can. That's the weird thing. Every time you say never, that's why I never say never, because sometimes you just want to. Some of the best backing vocals I've ever recorded are just using the little Dirty Bud earbuds with my iPhone because I just managed to capture exactly the right sound at the right time. So yeah, I say all that to say there is no one way. It really just comes down to practice. And practice makes progress, is what we say around here. So the more time you spend, that's why my mantra has been and will remain forever: create, record, release. And when I say release, it doesn't mean everything you make has to be released to Spotify. It just means let go and share. It should actually be called create, record, share, but it didn't quite sound as catchy. So create some music, record it, and mix it, obviously. Mix it, master it, and then share it. And then gather feedback. Find out what works for you. You'll know, you'll hear it, and then you'll listen to it, and you'll go, oh, that bit there grates on me. And then find out why that bit grates on you. Oh, it's because my vocals sound too nasally. I've got a nasal voice, and my vocals sound too nasally. And then look at some mixing tutorials that are specifically about that. Nasal vocals, how to EQ. Find some information. Apply it, see if it works for you. And then cough. No. So yeah, just trial and error and working out what works for you. And funnily enough, a lot of people get frustrated when they start out with stuff. What they do is that they just hit record, they just use their intuition to work out what sounds good to them. Oh, I'll just throw this on here, I'll just use a little bit of this, and I don't even know what it's doing, but it sounds good. And then they start learning, and then they start following step by step whatever Graham Cochran or Joe Gilder or Rick Beato or anyone tells them to do, and their mixes go downhill. Why? Because instead of listening to their music and finding what their music needs, they're trying to apply someone else's process that might work for their music to your own music. It's never going to work out that way. It's why when people say, what threshold and ratio do I set my compressor to? I can simply never answer that because it depends. If you've got a vocal that's a mega rock vocal, you might want a 10-to-1 ratio and you might want to crush that thing. If you've got a nice delicate vocal in a really soft ballad, you probably want some very light compression. You probably want like a 2-to-1 ratio and just touching the top. So there is no right or wrong. There is no one way to do it. So that's probably the most frustrating answer you're going to get, but I think it's the most realistic and honest answer because and anyone that tells you that their way of doing things is the only way or the best way, probably got some ego issues there, but you probably just need to take a step back. This is the problem we have in society. It's why Kanye West keeps doing what he's doing, because no one's telling him, no one's helping him with his mental health issues. Everyone's just encouraging him and telling him he's doing the right thing. It's not cool. All right. Thank you for the question, though. Appreciate it. We'll just check and make sure that we've tagged any other questions. Once again, apologize. There's lots of you here and you're having some great conversations. I'm missing most of it. So I'll try to get to as much of it as you can. But yeah, exactly as Gazzo says, beauty is in the ear of the beholder. And everyone's got different ear holes, and we all enjoy putting different things in our ear holes. Yes, that's gross and creepy. All righty. Let's have a drink. What is album sequencing? It usually just refers to the order of the songs that you put on your album. So when you've got 10 songs, what order do you want to put them? What's the sequence of the song? Sequencing can also refer to like a sequencer, which is like a programmed drum or beat or melodic instrument. But yeah, it's usually as simple as that, Luke. It's just what order you put them in. And we could talk for days about what order you should put your album in. Usually you want a good opener and you want your hit song to be around number 3 or 4. If you follow what pop records do, and all your filler tracks go between about 6 and 9. That's what it is. Alrighty, Treatment in Progress says we're releasing an album soon. Congratulations, 14 songs, DistroKid. How do we decide what track to release first? How long before releasing the second track, third, etc.? What is a single off an album? How's that work? Great question. So, and again, we could probably talk for days about this. And first of all, congratulations. That's great work that you've managed to get an album together. So there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Again, I'd throw you over to Damien Keys. He's got a lot of great information about this sort of thing, about your single releasing and album releasing and launching. So that's Damien Keys, Damien. Let's find his channel actually, shall we? We'll just go to the youtube.com, and I'll put him. Oh, missed the button there. Here we go. Damien. I think it's spelled Damien. Keys. No, it's not. It's AN. But thankfully, Google's got me covered. So this bloke here, Damien Keys, has some great information. Here, I'll throw a link here in the live chat for those watching here live, or just search Damien Keys. But he has some great information. Watch a few of his videos on launching. So the single release, 22-day plan for releasing a single, is a good one. So go and check that out. And yeah, he's got some good tips over there. Talking very generally, there's a couple of ways you can do this. So there's the album first, singles second option. So what you do is you build up your album, you release the whole thing. You're like, the album's coming out on this day. Get into it, folks. And then there's the album. And then this is sort of more sort of traditional way that folks have done it in the past. And then you release a single probably a few weeks or a month after your album release. Let people get into it, release a single, and then another month or two release another single. That's why back in the day, Bon Jovi would release their new album, and then Living on a Prayer would be the release single that would come out. And look, sometimes the first single comes out before the album as kind of a teaser. That's another option that you can go with, where you release like a teaser single a few weeks out, and then the album drops, and then more and more come there. So yeah, you've got that option there. Or you can flip it around. So you can go the other way around, which is that you release single, and then put them all out as an album at the end. So you're basically making people wait for each single. To be honest, that's what's done more often these days. So a lot of artists, I think Drake is one. I don't listen to Drake, but people tell me that Drake does this. A lot of artists now are basically just releasing single, and then they'll compile all those singles together as an album, which is a bit different from the old way where the album was like the concept, and then you grab the singles off the album. So yeah, there's many ways to do it. You need to work out what's going to be right for you. But yeah, you can, and the way it works with DistroKid is you release the whole album. In fact, I'll show you because I'll jump over to my DistroKid account over here. So if you come to my music, so for instance, when I released my album, which was all the way back here, Selfish Aware. So this album here, Selfish Aware, with 11 tracks on it. This actually had, I kind of did a hybrid approach. This had about 5 previously released songs, and then about 6 songs that hadn't been released already. So things like For the Birds, Your Opinion, Drinking With You, There's No Such Thing as College, Anxiety, they were all singles. So release, and then grab them all together and add a bunch of other album tracks, and they were released here on this one. So you can see some of those were in here, but some of these like Home and In Time and some of these had never actually been released as singles. So that's another way to go. But the good thing about DistroKid, and what I'd recommend you do when you're releasing, is do both. Like, always do both. Always release an album and then always re-release the singles, because it just gives you a second bite of the cherry. And why wouldn't you take that? Like, if you can, why wouldn't you have that second option? So hopefully that gives you some stuff to work on there, my friend. And I'm sure other folks have got other ideas as well. So please throw those in the chat if you have other ideas. Hello to Mr. Mike from Creative Source. There you go. He's got a great question here. Where do all the picks go? I have honestly no idea. They're a bit like pens. I don't, for the amount of picks that I've bought, I would have to, it's got to be in the thousands, doesn't it? And Mikey probably the same. I've probably bought thousands of picks. I reckon I've broken or thrown away deliberately 5 in my lifetime. Where the rest of them go, probably fall out of my pocket. There's probably people that have never bought a pick in their life because they're just walking around going, oh, pick. Probably like golf balls. A lot of golfers that probably have never bought a golf ball in their life, because you just go to the course on the off day and stock up on golf balls, right? Mike, I reckon you're live today, aren't you? Well, let's see. Creative South. I'll make sure I give you a pump before we start off. Oh, we're looking at bass, because it's all about the bass. So we get to talk about. So it looks like Mike's going to talk about his bass, a bass focus. Let's see. There it is. There you go. If you're not familiar with Mike, we'll give him a like here. Will notify me. I'll watch a bit of that. I'll throw the link here in the chat right now. But if you are looking for something to catch later in the day, why not? Why not go? If you like hearing old greying men ranting about music stuff, yeah, you're in the right place, because you can go and check out Mike after the show, because we'll be well and truly done by then. That'll be kicking off in about just under 2 hours' time. Go and check out Mike and Creative Source, and go sub him up right now, just so you don't forget, because he's got a lot of good information. Talks about a lot of the same sort of things that I do, but more of a desktop experience focus using Cakewalk and Persona Studio One, and he uses a lot more fancy gear. So when I say go out and buy yourself a $100 microphone, he'd probably say, "Oh no, it's a Shure SM7B or it's nothing." Not really. Not really, but yeah, no, very, very, very worth going and doing what Princess does, and go on, sub him up, folks. All right, let's continue on, because we've got a heap of questions, and I do want to get out of here sometime today. So we'll go back to treatment in progress. Oh, thank you. Question: do you know how much we appreciate you? Oh, that means a lot to me. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge and experience. Look, it's my absolute pleasure. We could do a whole show on imposter syndrome and the fact that on pretty much every day I don't feel qualified or worthy to be telling other people what to do, but all I've really done over the last 6 years is tried things, trial and error. And the reason I started this channel to begin with is that I didn't know what to do. So I thought, hey, as I'm learning things, why don't I document them? Mostly as a selfish thing, so I could go back and watch my own tutorials, which I do, by the way. I forget how to do something in GarageBand. I go back and watch my video, and I'm like, oh, previous me is telling me what to do. But yeah, it was all about that. So it's just been about, hey, if I can just encourage more people to create more music, that's got to be a good thing, yeah? So if one person creates a song that they wouldn't have created because they've watched a tutorial or because they got some encouragement from one of the communities around here, I say that's a giant plus, a big thumbs up right there. All right. No, I don't think. Look, same with guitars. I'm not a mic collector. People are like, "Oh man, I've got to add to my mic locker." I don't have that problem with adding mics. Like honestly, once I bought because I had the AKG D5 Dynamic, I used to use an old MXL condenser, and then Mike from Creative Source actually did a shootout with some condenser mic, and this one came up trumps, and I'm like, all right, I'll take a look, and yeah, I've been using it ever since the AT 2020. Both very affordable mics and both have great sounds. So, yeah. Alrighty. Next question comes from Princess LDG. Do you still use Audio Master Pro? Yes and no. I don't, because I tend to use Final Touch or the last song Jade Star mastered in Lursen Mastering Console. Because I find they get more control over those. And I've used BandLab mastering as well recently too, just to sort of test it out. Audio Master Pro is great if you need a really quick master. So I must admit, I've used Audio Master Pro for just some spoken word stuff, or if there's a song that I just want to throw a really quick master on before I send it to someone. Because sometimes you play a song to someone, and if it's not a mastered version, if it's just a final mix, it kind of sounds a bit flat. So sometimes you want to throw some sort of master on there. So that's where Audio Master Pro comes in. And if you want to know more about that, go and check that out previously in the show, or just go to. I reckon I did a video on it. Surely I did a video on it. I've done videos on everything these days. By now, everything's been done. So if you go Pete John's Audio Master Pro, if you want to learn about this one. There it is, mastering app for iOS. And in fact, there's 3 different ones there. There's Audio Fix and there's Video Master. So there's a few different ones from the same company that makes some pretty good stuff there. Next question comes from GJE, and they would like to know, I want to record a choir. How many microphones should I use and what kind? Any recommendations about the recording of the voices of the choir? Thanks in advance. This is an interesting one. Mike of Creative Source, have you ever recorded a choir? I've recorded gang vocals before, so I guess the principles would be kind of the same. And my daughters are in the choir, so they what they normally use is kind of some, like the main singer will be singing into the microphone if they're doing a solo, but they normally use kind of room mics. So they use those omnidirectional mics that they hang from the ceiling that pick up around. but I've never actually, I've never recorded a choir before. You know what I would do if I had this question? I would use the power of YouTube. I would go, what microphones to record a choir? And let's just see what results we get. Yes, Googling with Johns. Welcome to our new show. Here you go. Sure Soul Music's got one there. Cosmic Audio, how to make a choir sound incredible. How to mic record a choir, 4 tips for a smooth process. So there's no one I can see here that I instantly recommend. But there you go, best mics for record. So yeah, like a stereo pair, something like this would be good. I think you had a stereo pair of Shaw's that you were... I think I saw you take a picture of, Mike. But yeah, there's some like cheap Samson stereo pairs. So really, you want to capture a stereo signal. So I guess it's similar to a guitar, but like in a giant way. So you'd probably want to make sure that you have at least point. You could probably mic it like a drum kit where you'd have overheads and you'd have room and then you'd have up front. But yeah, I guess you just want to try and at least capture with 2 microphones and have them wide enough apart that you're going to get a full sound from the whole choir. But yeah, really interesting question. Not one I've had before and not something that I've ever done. So if folks here live or on the replay have done it and have amazing tips or great videos or tutorials that you've seen about recording choirs, please throw them here in the chat. A pair of U87s, of course. Let's price those, shall we? Because Mike's buying. So yeah, if you grab yourself a pair of U87s. So, that's only for one, isn't it? Okay. So yeah. So you was 3.6. So you're at 7. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So $7,500 for a pair of U87s. No, but a pair of microphones basically is going to be your best bet to get a nice stereo sound for anything. But yeah, you probably don't need U87s. 2 small diaphragm condensers. Yeah. Which again, I used really cheap ones that I used were the MXL 551. I don't know if Sweetwater sell MXL actually, so they might not have them. They do sell. So this is the first mic bundle I ever got was this one. So if you're wondering what a small condenser microphone is, they usually look kind of like that. The little ones like that are kind of more directional and end address as opposed to these side address ones. So this is this is really expensive now. Well, there you go. I should have hung on to mine. I gave mine away. Gave them away to my cousin-in-law. But yeah, this is a great little pack for getting started because you get a side address large diaphragm condenser and a little pencil condenser. So yeah, couple of small diaphragm pencil condensers on the sides should be right. Exactly. If you've got a big enough choir, it's only a few dollars to get your $7,500 to buy your 2 U87s. Why not? See you, Doctor. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Yes, I know it's a bit late for any of folks in the UK and Europe. If you need to toddle off, then go for it. Any good room mix would be good first choice. That's what. Yeah. So yeah, good room mix. So a couple of condensers. And that's what I was talking about. The ones that they have hanging. They must be a type of condenser. I think they're like an omnidirectional condenser mic that they use for the big performances at choir halls and things. So yeah. Yeah, try that. U87, the red-headed stepchild of the Neumann family. Great smooth mic. Yeah, and very, very expensive. So we can go that. There you go. MXL 76G is supposed to be the best MXL sleeper mic. There you go. Good stuff. All right, Adam Korn. Welcome, Adam Korn. I've got your question. I've added it to the list. Next question. Did you all know that Martin has a great line of acoustic guitars for under $1,000 US? No, I didn't know that because I don't own a Martin guitar. But let's put Clayton's assertion to the test, shall we? And jump over to Sweetwater and search Martin acoustic guitar and see what they actually have for under $1,000. Oh wow, there's a little Martin for $399. Check this out. Oh, look at this little Martin. Oh. $399. So, okay. Yeah, well, there you go. I did not know that Martins were quite this cheap. That's the sort of thing I'd go. This is probably the most similar to the Taylor that I play, which is the full dreadnought style guitar, which is pretty similar to Mark. So this is Mark. This is Mark Taylor. This is what I play, which is, yeah, about the same, about $1,000. Actually, this one's only about $700 US. But yeah, who knew? I didn't know that you could buy a Martin that cheaply. Look, 20 reviews, all 5 stars as well. Got Fishman MXT Electronics. Looks pretty nice. Not gonna lie to you. So there you go. Maybe if you're in the market for an acoustic guitar, maybe Clayton's got you covered, and maybe you do need to do that. Do go via the gear guide, of course. So if you are buying anything at all, studiolivetoday.com/gear, because you can click straight through here to Sweetwater, to any of your Amazon places, to eBay, even to Thomann, and all my gear recommendations are there as well. But there you go. I do like Martin guitars, Martin and Maton, which is always confusing when someone says, "What do you play a Martin?" Was that a Martin or a Maton? I don't know. Both good. You really can't go wrong, can you? Between a Martin and a Maton guitar, both good. They do. I live near their factory. Oh, very cool. I like it. Nice. Bobby Martin going to grow up someday and be a big Martin. I like it. All right, let's grab mine. Yes, yeah. I love Taylors too. I just love the crispness of a Taylor. Yeah, it's nice. All right. Question from Princess LDG. Have you ever experienced audio artifacts in audio, like clicks? What did you do? I re-recorded it. I think I said this to you. I think you might have asked this question, Princess, and I think I said, I just don't mess about with pops and clicks anymore if they're too obvious. Sometimes, here's what I do. I either ignore them or I re-record them. I don't try and fix them. I've spent too many hours, too much time throwing plugins and automation and other BS just for it to sound crap. So I'm at the point now where if something is standing out to me, it is quicker. This is the beauty of a home studio. If you played for studio time, sure, you have to fix it, don't you? Because you're stuck with what you got. We're here in the home studio. You got unlimited retries. So if I find something that's got a really bad click or a pop in it, I ain't spending any time trying to fix that thing in the mix. I am going to delete it and I'm going to re-record it. If you really want to try some things that are going to work, I mean, doing some cross-fading, so just fading it down and trying to cross between 2 different takes, if that's what's causing it. If you want to spend a lot of money, there's plugins. What's the one that everyone uses? The fancy one that I never use. So there's fancy noise reduction, Isotope. So Isotope have some fancy stuff that apparently can analyze your audio and find things and remove them. But you're going to be paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for that sort of gear. And if you're on iOS, there's always the noise reduction app from Clevgrand called Bruce Free, which I know I've talked about before. So that works, but the problem with a pop or a click is it's not noise. So it's not like noise reduction where you can sample the noise and then try and remove that noise. It's just random, and it's just going to go, like if you've got a pop, click, chop, it's going to be too hard. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I would simply re-record. Yeah, you can try crossfading. Yeah, Isotope RX. That's what it is. Isotope RX. RX is amazing. Yeah, look, and it's not cheap, and I think it's only desktop. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that Isotope haven't gone into the space of mobile recording. Isotope RX. Let's see what it would cost here. RX10. So looks like for me here, the standard edition is going to be $399 US plus tax, or the advanced edition is $1,199 plus tax. So, or you can get the Elements version, which is $129, which I guess would do a bit of stuff. So, yeah, I've heard and seen very good things about it. But, yeah, again, you know what costs you nothing apart from a bit of your time? Re-record it. Just re-record it, because you're going to save yourself a lot of time. But yeah, a little bit of microscopic editing. So yeah, zoom right in and try and find it. If it's really, really small, you can actually do that. So make sure you've tried that. Zoom all the way in and then just trim that tiny little section of audio. And sometimes you can get away with it not sounding anything at all, especially if it's not right in the middle of a word or something. So if it's in a kind of gap in the audio, you can do that. Or do some really quick down and up automation on there so that it doesn't go completely, but you kind of lose the clickiness of it. So a couple of options there. Yeah, if you only have Isotope products, check out your loyalty offers. Good idea. Exactly, edit microscopic and draw in a non-spiky waveform. So yeah, so go right down there and try and just get rid of that. Time for me to go. Goodbye, Mark Bro. Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Hope you have a good weekend. That rhymes, and you know that rhymes. All right, questions from Rena. Rena's got 3 questions. In fact, she's got 4. Should we see how we can get through these questions from Rena? Number 1, do you put your own meta tags and digital tracking for Shazam to read you on your music before you put it out, or does DistroKid take care of that for you? DistroKid takes care of that for you. So this is a bit of a common misconception. If you're releasing music, you need to release WAV files. You can't release MP3s or M4As. So you can't actually embed any metadata into a WAV file. The way that WAV files work is that the encapsulation doesn't actually include any text. So it is just pure audio, which means all the metadata that you add is added directly into DistroKid. So there's no fingerprint stuff in there. There's none of the MP3 or the M4A stuff. It is just the WAV file. So when you upload it into DistroKid, that creates the digital fingerprint and all that sort of stuff. That when it sends it off to YouTube, YouTube creates their content ID fingerprint and all that sort of thing. If you select the the Shazam and all the others at the bottom of it when you upload, I'll show you where that is. When you come in here and you upload your song, if you come down the bottom here and you go with the Discovery Pack for $1 a year, that adds in all of that stuff. So that makes sure that everything is there so that all the catalogs have all of the fingerprints and stuff that they need with your metadata. So everything, basically, it's why it's so important to put in as much metadata as possible, even once you've released it. I haven't done this yet. I should go back in and do this, but you should always go back into your song and just double check that you've got things like the songwriter, you've got your lyrics in there, your credits are completely up to date. Everything is in there in terms of metadata because that is what it uses when you release. Hopefully that helps you. Question 2, are you registered with a PRO in USA, BMI or ASCAP? I'm not. I've been meaning to for a long time. People like Mike and Jade are probably going to yell at me again because I haven't. Mostly because my songs aren't being played anywhere. So, but if there's any chance of any of your songs ever being played anywhere, or you're playing your own songs in public, which I'm hoping to do soon, then you should definitely be registered. Here in Australia, it's APRA AMCOS. There's BMI. There's what's the PRO in? I always forget the UK one. Someone will put it in the chat. They always do. So yeah, there's different ones in different parts of the world. I'm not registered with them, but don't do as I do. Do as I say. Go and register with a PRO, by the way, Performing Rights Organisation, which means you register with them, you give them all your songs, and then when your songs are played, they somehow use some magic voodoo formula to work out how much of that, the overall revenue generated by radio stations and other places that play music in public, should go to you. So you'll probably get 4 cents at the end of the day. Question 3, can you create your own sample and then stick it in your loops? Sort of. So it depends what platform you're using. On GarageBand, it's pretty simple to do that. So you can create your own sample and then just put it in your GarageBand file transfer folder, and it will just sit right here in this section. So this is exactly what I've done here. So there's a loop. There's another one. So they'll all just sit in here. Now, it's a pain in the ass because you can't have folders. So what I tend to do is store them separately in the Files app and then just bring in the ones I'm using and then occasionally clean them out and then bring them in. So bit of a hassle. It's not like having an amazing, organized sample library like you can in something like Cubasis or in Pro Tools or in Reaper or in Cakewalk. So it's not perfect, but yeah, you definitely can have your own loops and samples right there. It'll just put them here in your Files app, and they also won't be, so you can't use them to like beat match. They won't beat match or pitch match like your Apple loops do. So if you change your key, it won't change it. And if you change your tempo, it won't change it. But yeah, definitely can be done. And I think you had a 4th question, so let's answer that one. T-shirt question. Love your logo, but any plans for more feminine T-shirt for the gals? Great question, and I totally should. I'll say it here because we showed it on a previous show. I made a prototype of a ladies t-shirt design, which had like more of a scoop neck and had the Studio Live Today logo. I made one, and my wife tried it on, and she's like, "Yeah, this ain't no good," because the logo was like sitting right down here, and she's like, "You need the logo on the boobs, Pete." And I'm like, "Okay." So I'll need to do another prototype one. But yeah, look, if you've got ideas for designs, or if you've got ideas for colors or designs, or think that you think would be better, because I know we do have a heap of ladies around the channel that probably going, "I don't really want to wear like a men's t-shirt Johns, then please do let me know. And if you are looking to get yourself some merchandise at the moment, if you go to studiolivetoday.com/merch, you can check out what we got over there. I keep it pretty simple. I haven't sort of expanded the range for a while, but we've got mugs, we've got t-shirts, we've got hoodies, and you can play around with that. Why is it putting that there? Oh wow, it's putting the codes up there when you go to there. I need to fix that. If you go there now, there you go. You'll get the email subscriber and apparently the Patreon codes. Oh, okay, that's out there now. I won't say them out loud, but that's out there now. If you want to use them, go on, knock yourself out. I think my profit's already about 15% on each of these. So if you use that code, it'll be about an even sum game. All right, but yeah, you got the t-shirts there. We got the Sharon is Karen. We got the hoodie. You got the mug. But yes, and the rainbow logo t-shirt, which I quite like. But I currently have no ladies styles in the arrangement. Got the happy hour mug, which is the one that I'm using right now. So yeah, plenty of stuff to choose from over there. But yes, good question. The fact that I've never had anyone ask for that is probably an indication of how much of a boys' club it is around here. No, it's not. It's not really. And I know some folks have bought it. So Capsalam bought one of the t-shirts. So we have had some of the ladies buying the t-shirts. But I will endeavour to get some better styles out there. Absolutely. Marketing. I know. Well, the thing is, my logo actually has sort of the two round bits. If you look at it, it's got the clock and then the headphones in the middle and then the CD on the other side. So yeah, Georgie was like, "Clock, CD, hello, sells itself here, buddy." Make sure I have pink. Barry likes pink. I like it. All right. How many more questions we got? We're going to get through these. Yeah, we've got about 25 minutes. Apologies if you've asked questions and it's taken me a while to get through them. It's why I wanted to do one of these because I hadn't done one in a while. And we always do shows where I don't have questions. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We always do shows where we have lots of questions and I never have enough time to answer them. So I'm like, no, we're putting 2 hours aside. We're going to answer as many questions as we can. So we probably still do have room for a few more. So please just put the word question or a big Q in the front of your comment if you have any comments or questions you would like to ask. My handle fell off my coffee mug today. How does that even happen? How does that even happen? I guess they are just sort of attached and molded on there. But yeah, that would be a shocker. Like, punk, handle falls off coffee mug. Unacceptable. All right. Next one here is from Word Gene. Says, I'm struggling getting into engineering my music, but I'm determined to learn. Do you have any advice? Could it be worth it to hire someone to teach me or consider school for it? Yeah, great question. First of all, I would start simple. This is the thing. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed. The advice I have for folks is that a lot of people watch a tutorial. When I was starting out, I watched a tutorial and it was something like pop producer shares his template for recording #1 pop songs. And I'm like, cool, let's see what the pros do. And he showed me a Pro Tools template with 220 tracks. And every vocal had like 7 tracks on it. And he had all these other sweeteners and all these tracks and then 14 different sends to different things. And I would almost just stop right then. I'm like, I'm never getting to that level. That's too confusing. I don't want to do it. Then I found GarageBand and went, actually, this is pretty easy. So yes, I'm super duper biased, but I highly recommend that you check out GarageBand if you haven't already, or something equally simple like Cakewalk by BandLab, something that's free and easy. BandLab itself is really easy. It's a browser-based one, and just start recording. And here's the thing, mix engineers used to be called balance engineers because there was no mixing. There was no reverb. If you want a reverb, you had to sing in the toilet. Like, you had to be in a hallway. Like, there was none of all these effects. Like, we get very carried away with compression and reverb and EQ and all these things. Back in the day, they recorded them and then you balanced the volume and you said, big tick, done. And that was it. Whereas these days, I think it's very easy to get overwhelmed because you think, I don't understand compression. I don't understand EQ. I don't understand reverb and delay. I don't get it. You don't really have to. Record in 4 tracks, mix them together, maybe do some panning, because remember, panning is just volume for your left and your right. In fact, everything's just volume. There's a little secret. Panning is just how much volume's on the left versus the right. Yeah, compression is just a type of volume. It's saying make sure that you push this volume up and this volume down to make it level. So instead of it going like that, make it go like that. Simple. And EQ is just volume for different frequencies. EQ means make the bass this volume and make the treble this volume and the mids this volume. So everything comes back to the volume. So learning about volume and learning about a basic simple mixing for volume is probably the first step. So look, do you need to do courses or buy courses or go to school? In the past, maybe, need a quick cough. In the past, perhaps. I think these days, School of YouTube is pretty good. The problem with the School of YouTube is, and any school, any learning, you got to be practical about it. So the number one tip I have to people is when you get into this stuff, you'll probably get really interested in it. You might go and watch 10 tutorials. You watch a bunch of my tutorials. You then go check out Patrick at the GarageBand. You watch Mike from Creative Source. And then you're not actually doing any creating. So I always say make sure you've got at least a 50-50 ratio. In honesty, and this is really stupid for me to say as someone who creates content for YouTube, it should be more like 10%, 90%. You should spend, if you have 2 hours to create music in a day, you should sit down and learn something for 10 minutes in a tutorial and then spend an hour and 50 minutes creating and mixing and trying things out. And then the next day, maybe you want a little bit more to start with, but eventually you should really just be going out to seek the things you need to know. Right, I want to start using compression. Okay, I'll watch 20 minutes of videos about compression and then do 2 hours of playing around with compressors. So that's what I'd say there. Yeah, there's courses that you can use and there's places you can go to, but the school of hard knocks, the trial and error, the just doing it works a lot better. You can be technically knowledgeable, and then what you'll find is you'll just spend your whole life in gear slots and other forums arguing with people about which compressor is the best for rap vocals, and you don't want to go there. Trust me, you want to be a doer, not a sayer. Be a grower, not a shower. I'm a university student and Pete is the professor. I know it is weird because I used to do sort of coaching and training as part of my job in the corporate world. I was a customer experience professional and a sales and marketing manager, and yeah, so I'd run sort of sessions and training, and I often think, what if some people that I worked with that I taught, how to sell electricity, just stumbled onto YouTube and they're like, hey, there's that guy, except he's talking about fun things. Yeah, be pretty funny. Rhett from the Mix Club says, I mixed a track last week with no EQ, just levels. The one mixed with EQ. Russ picked the one with the EQ, and I did pick the one with no EQ, and I did too. Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, you often don't need it. Sometimes we cram things in that don't need to be there. Sometimes we spend a lot of time trying to work out, what compression should I add on this? Sometimes the answer is none. What EQ should I put on this? Sometimes the answer is none. If it sounds good, it is good. So get at it and go for it. A continuation, what's your advice for getting going working with recordings? I already have and manipulating them. Getting going working with recordings. So again, my really simple way for mixing. So let's just say you've already got your recording and you've got your track set ready and you're getting into the engineering, the mixing side of things. Put all your faders down and then do a static mix. Find the right volume for each track to start with. Listen to that. Is it about right? Yep. Second, I look at panning. Where does the stereo space need to be? Does anything need to be on the left or the right, or any balance of that? Stereo, static mix. Boom. Then, what am I hearing that needs to be sweetened or removed? And that's where your EQ comes in, or perhaps reverb and delay. So, are the vocals a bit bland and a bit dry? Let's try a little reverb. That's what I do there. Is there a particular sound that's sounding harsh? Oh man, that guitar is just really sticking out and I don't like it. Maybe you need to find that frequency and use some EQ to pull it down. And then the big tip that I have is don't spend a lot of time. Once you've started your mix, get a version that you're pretty happy with and then either turn your monitor off or close your eyes or do something and play it back and just take notes with your eyes closed. Take notes about what you're hearing and what you think you need to change. Then go back to your DAW and make the changes and listen again and then take notes and then make changes. The problem is you get into this tweaky zone, don't you? Where you're just tweaking as you go and you're like, oh, that goes up a little bit. And then you're listening to the track and as the track's playing, you're physically twiddling knobs and dials and you don't know what you've done. And then you get to the end of a mixing session and you listen to your previous mix and then your new mix, and it sounds worse. And you're like, oh, that sounds worse. But I have no idea what I did because you got no notes to go back on. So I always say that the best advice I ever got about mixing is to listen with your ears, not looking at anything, not touching anything. Make notes about what you think you want to change, then go in and change those, and then listen again, rinse and repeat. You will get better mixes. I almost guarantee it. Right? Lyric of mine, sometimes less is more, lest we forget the lessons we heeded before. Truth that. No problem. Very, very cool. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out here. Thanks everyone for hanging out here. Got about 15 minutes left. Only got a couple of questions left. So if you've got a final question, you can probably slide it in there, and we'll definitely try to answer as many as we can before we finish up. I don't think I've seen any others pop in. No. So we're caught up. We just got these two questions here. One is from Adam Korn. Stick off the same hole. So I dig a hole. Sorry. Every time I think of Adam Korn, I think of the band Korn because it's spelled K-O-R-N. And I love me some Korn. How would you pan vocals, doubled lead vox, and 2 more tracks of harmonies? Hard pans, more in the center. So how would you pan vocals, doubled lead vox, and 2 more tracks of harmonies? Double pan. Oh, hard pan. Yeah, look, this is something that I do struggle with quite often. I reckon I had exactly this in my last song. So let's find it and let's see what I did, because I honestly can't friggin' remember what I did. Where are we? Songtember 2022. What version did we get up to? Version 15. Open up my song Grown Ass Man, and look, your type of music's probably going to be different, but let's just find my vocals here. Let's just solo in all these vocals, because there's my lead, there's my double, and there's my backgrounds, and then I've got backings for the verse here as well. So what did I do? What did I do here? So there's my lead. So there's my lead and my
Grown ass man, please take me home.
Oh, that's right. We didn't have it in that first time.
I've done all
the volume's down on these ones.
Cause I just don't have a plan. Please take me home.
All right. So we had these 2 were my backing vocals. Where did I put them? I definitely always put my lead vocals down the center. My lead and my double always centered. You don't have to, but it kind of sounds weird if your lead vocal isn't down the guts.
Don't have a plan. Please take me home.
I didn't pan them at all.
All I can stand. Please take me.
All right, because I think that was basically a single. I don't think I even doubled that one. That was just a single harmony. But I think I did pan these ones. So where did I put these? Yeah, I went hard. So for this final section here, which we'll just bring all the vocals back into, I did go hard left and hard right. And I'm pretty sure I usually do that because I think, especially if you've got reverb and delay on them, it's kind of filling out the in-between parts anyway. And if you're going to, you do get a pretty balanced mix. So let's just take a listen to this.
I'm a grown-ass man. Please take me home.
So there they are, fully panned. Yeah, so I think that would be my answer. Is that I usually go more wide, especially if it's a 2-part harmony, and you've got that. Especially if you've got reverb. I guess the only drawback is that if for some reason someone's listening in stereo, but say on one earbud, it might sound weird if they're getting way too much or only the left or the right. So if you were listening, for instance, if you're on stereo right now, this is only going to be on your right. And there's a tiny little bit of reverb over on the left. And consequently, not that one, this one. This one's only going to be on the left. So I don't know if you've ever listened to Queen on headphones, and because they use a lot of great panning, and they usually go pretty heavy, like far left, far right for their backing vocals. Like, so think of easy come, easy go, little high, little low. If you've ever listened to that on one earbud, it sounds bizarre because it goes easy come, little high, because it's completely gone from the mix. So that would probably be the only caveat there. But to be honest, when most people are listening in mono through, say, a Bluetooth speaker or their phone speaker, then they're listening to a mono mix anyway. So it's going to mix those down to a mono signal. It's only on the off chance that someone's got one earbud in and they're listening to your song and it sounds goofy. So I wouldn't probably base your mixing around that one fairly rare scenario personally. But what do you think, folks? What do you do? Do you always go left and right? Or do you vary it a little bit down the middle? Because I guess the other thing is, if you come here, not to that one, that's the merch. Oh, that's me. Wrong button, Johns. I need to get a Stream Deck, clearly. So, yeah, the other thing you could do is sort of bring these in. So that's all that we're saying here is if you wanted to pan, you could bring those into there and...
I just don't have a plan.
Or have them out to the
Please
side.
take me home.
So, yeah, it just gives you a little bit more of a narrow mix overall, I guess. Alrighty, let's see if we have any final questions. I think we've got 1 and 2 more there. I'm just adding these in here, and then we'll do some quick fire answering. Oh, wow. Just as I'm like, oh, we're done here. And then, oh, no, now we've got a heap of questions. Blah, 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 blah. All right, I've grabbed the final advice. Hello, Wayak, by the way. G'day. How are you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a quiet beer on a Thursday night. Why not? Why not? We go left or right for fill vocal, which is less than backing. Yeah. With guitar, if I pan, one side has modulation. There you go. Yeah, that's another way to go. Another way to go is, and you can also do that. That's actually a pretty funky thing. It's a little bit next level, but what you can do is you can put your vocal on one side and then your effects on the other side and then flip it. That way you're kind of getting the reverb of the left on the right and then the reverb of the right on the left. It's kind of a cool technique. It's worth trying it out. All right, I'll cut off the questions there. We've got 10 minutes left and I've got like 10 questions here. So we're going to do a quick fire Q&A in these last 10 minutes. So apologies, but I'm going to have to cut off right there. So if anyone has any other questions, unfortunately, you'll need to wait and pop them down into the comments down below if I miss them. So apologies for that. But let's jump in to these last 10 questions. What is the real purpose of AUM? I don't know. I've tried to play around with Audio Bus and AUM. I think if you're using multiple apps and you're using it to record and combine and record things from other apps into other apps, it's a great thing to do. What I figure is that if you don't know why you use AUM and you're creating music without using it, then you don't need to. But if you're finding that you're trying to record something into another app or make an app talk to another app and it's not, then AUM or Audio Bus are a good thing. They're going to work for you. So yeah, and the other thing I'd say is go ask Jade Star because she's got a heap of videos about AUM. And if you're not sure what AUM is, it's a audio connector. It's made by the same folks that make Audio Share, and it basically helps you bring in all your different apps. And it was great before there was things like Interapp Audio and AUV3. It was really needed. These days, if you're just using Cubasis or Aurea or GarageBand and you're just using third-party apps, you can usually just use AUV3 plugins and be good to go. What is it like being a Pisces and a sheep from the Chinese zodiac? Am I a sheep? We were talking about this the other day, and I couldn't remember what Chinese year of the animal I was. But yeah, born in 79, a Piscean. I don't really follow the astrology stuff, but that being said, I'm basically your absolute typical Pisces. Doesn't like drama, doesn't like conflict, quite creative. That's about it. So it's good. I would say it is good. I enjoy it. Not a music question, but how do you dump on YouTube? Have not found any info on this. Yeah, so good question. It is in. I'll show you. It's really hidden, and it's hard to do. And I've forgotten how you set other channels that you can do it in. I might have to take it offline and maybe do a separate video on it. But if I go in, I'm just going to go into this particular live show because I've already set up a dump for this one. So what we're talking about here is if I go into my settings of this one, I'll take you over to my screen. So when you've got a live stream set up as I do here, in the customization section here, there are two things we can do. We can redirect. So it's actually a redirect. So it says redirect allows you to keep viewers engaged across multiple events, add a live stream or premiere for people to watch after yours ends. So when this ends, you'll get the little screen for my happy hour this weekend. And the trailer was my little ditty that you might have heard if you were here beforehand. So if I hit the edit button there, I can use any of my upcoming premieres or live streams, or I can search videos from other channels if I click here. So what it's going to bring up is, oh, for some reason I have Russ Johns as someone that I can dump to. I didn't even know that, but Russ has set me as someone. I haven't watched Russ's streams for a while, but I could, for instance, dump you over here to Brad and Ron doing whatever they're doing there. I could dump you to Jade Star's opening hour here. So, but you have to set that at your channel, and I've forgotten where that is, Rhett. So maybe take it offline. Maybe hit me up on the Discord or on somewhere, and we'll work through it. Because Jade and Thomas showed me how to do it, and now I've forgotten. But what you need to do, go into your settings and say there's a little spot there that says allow these channels to send viewers to my stream. And then you can do that. So yeah, set it up for one of your streams, and I'll make sure it works. We can do some testing offline if you would like to do that. What was my former career? How long did you do it? And did you like it very much? Great question. It is Ask Me Anything. These are the end of the show Ask Me Anything kind of questions. So I worked for an energy company for the last 16 years. Prior to that, I worked for the TAB, which was a gambling totalizator here in South Australia. Before that, I worked for KFC in their delivery call centre. So I basically worked in call centres and customer service for, was it 26 years? And then decided I didn't want to do that anymore. So now this is my full-time gig, which is absolutely wonderful. I can only do it because of the help of you wonderful folks who support me by watching the shows, by sharing the shows, by hitting the thumbs up button, something you can do right now, and becoming patrons and donating to the channel. So so I spent a lot of time, probably the last 10 years, a lot in customer. I used to run the customer experience program. So that was running surveys for people for customer service. So finding out what we did right and what we did wrong and why people hate us, because we're an energy company. So many people did. And towards the end, I was in sales and marketing. So I was looking after retention teams. They're the teams that annoyingly contact you after you've decided to leave usually and say, please stay. We want you to stay. Why won't you stay? And you say, because you didn't do anything for me while I was a customer. And we're like, oh no, but we love you now. So that was my gig. It was fun. Was it good? Yeah, look, it was good. But I'd had enough. I was a bit tired. Question from Gazu. I have volume automation on, but I need to chop out 4 bars and move the whole song forward. Is there any way to lock the automation? There's not. There's not, but there is. So no. Short answer, no, Guzzo. Long answer is merge. So if you do want to do that, so what Guzzo is talking about here is, let's just say I've got some automation on a track, which I do on these backing vocals. So let's just say here, so if we tap and we tap again and we go to automation, you'll see that we've got these backing vocals so that they're at 0 and they come up just here. Now, if I wanted to add in some bars, what would happen is it would shift all these across, but the automation doesn't shift. So there's no way to actually move the automation in line with the audio, as there is in most other DAWs, which is a pain in the rectum. The one way you can do it is to merge. So if we tap there and we go to merge, you are going to lose any ability to change this afterwards. But if we tap both of these and hit the merge button, that creates a new track that you can then move. And then that will bake in any effects and automation. So that's the one way to do it. And I'm pretty sure you've seen my videos on merging. Other folks, if you need to learn about merging, search my name, Pete Johns Merge, and there will be videos that can help show you how to do that. So short answer, no. Longer answer, bit clunky, but merge it, and then you'll be good to go on that one. How do you do that reverse reverb trip on vocals in GarageBand? I know Hubs is good at it. Reverse reverb is a little bit clunky in GarageBand, and in the 4 minutes we have left, I can't show it to you, Dan, but I'm almost positive, as I frantically type, that I have a video about it. And I do. Excuse me, sneezing coming. Apologies. So yeah, reverse reverb effect. So in essence, what you do is you get your track, you add the reverb, you sample it, you reverse it, and then you bring it back in. So it's about a 4 or 5 step process. It sounds kind of awesome, and I've just thrown a link to the video of it that you can check out here in the chat. And for those on the replay, just search my name, Pete Johns Reverse Reverb, and you'll find that very video to help you do it. How much education do you have? Not a lot. So I have a diploma of management and marketing, and I did my what we call the SACE Stage 2 certificate here. So my formal education, is in management, and I did school. So no, I didn't go to university or college. Came straight out of school and started learning. But I've done. I went to the School of Hard Knocks, man. Did lots of training and on the job training and courses. So I've within customer service and the customer experience fields, which I wouldn't say I don't use. I actually use quite a lot of it. In fact, it's quite good. If I ever want to run surveys and things, I'm like, oh yep, I know what I'm doing here. That's for sure. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you. Never done that. Never done the reverse reverb. It's really fun. What is did Gary Hubbs tell us about his trick? I'm not sure. There you go. It is really simple. Like there's a few steps to it, but it's pretty simple to do. So you should. And Gary has now agreed to help all 35 of you watching live and the couple of hundred that'll watch on the replay. So just call Gary. You can all call Gary directly, and he'll help you do it. No, maybe connect with Gary on the Facebook group or via the Discord or somewhere else, so that Gary doesn't get overwhelmed. How many questions do you think I've asked since I came to your channel? That's a great question, Princess LDG. Princess LDG does like to ask a lot of questions. There used to be a way, I don't know if you could do it anymore, but there used to be a way on YouTube to find out like who your top commenters were and how many comments particular people have actually put in there. I'm gonna try. There is a search filter here. I won't bring you over here, but let's search for your name. We'll see. We'll see if it'll come up. I haven't done this for a long time, so I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Yes, but it's okay. I gotta filter it. No, it's not. I put you in there, and it has found a few things, but I'm not sure. Like it's only brought up like 3 things, so I don't think it searches properly. But a lot. Sorry, I thought I was gonna find some cool way of actually telling you a number. I'd be like 312, but no, it wouldn't be quite that many. Maybe only about 250. But no, questions are good. Like I think I said, I started with this at the start of the show, and it's still the case that the questions are fantastic and the reason that I read every single comment, you'll know that if you've watched a video before. I did a video. I'll finish off with that. I'll answer this one from Danny Gable. So this will be our last question, and then I'll just show you something. Danny Gable said, beatboxer or briefs? Briefs, my friend. Because reasons I don't even know anymore. Habit, because I formed a habit and now that's my habit. So I'm a briefs kind of guy. But yeah, so I had a video. If I go every time I look at my my list of videos and I go to my library here and my most popular video, most people already know this, but if you're newer to the channel, you may not. That the most popular video. If I go to my Your Videos tab here, and I filter this by views and. Just go views, other way around. So yeah. So, and I did a kind of updated thing to this recently, but here is the 2 most popular videos I have at 1.7 and 1.6 million. Headphones not working? This simple cleaning method could help. Or charger port not working? This tip could help. And you can see there that they are literally 2 to 3 times as big as any of my videos about actual audio stuff. So I can kind of thank the fact that I still actually make a living with these 2 videos. And as you can see there, that one's had 7,781 comments. This one's had 6,113 comments. And I have actually answered every single comment. So there you can see I haven't responded, 0, no comments found. But there are 6,000 or 7,000 comments on here, all of which have a like and a reply from me, and it kind of freaks people out. What I haven't done is gone into the replays, like, because me watching this with my dead headphones on. See, I've responded to that one, eek. But a lot of other people have responded to that, so I don't have the ability to respond to responses. But if you go through there, all 7,000 of those original comments have a like and a heart and a reply from me. So I don't know why I even say that. Because Princess was asking about it. Why? But I think that's cool. I think that's engagement. And you know how long it takes me to do that? Maybe half an hour a day to respond to questions. But every time I do that and I go in and respond to every comment, some of them I just have to give a thumbs up. Some I have to say, hey, thanks. Please subscribe to the channel. Hang out. Enjoy. And others, give me either really good tips or really good ideas for future videos. If I get the same question 4 times in a week, guess what my next quick tip video is going to be? You got it. So yeah, it really helps, and it helps with trends, and sometimes people put comments in there saying, hey, yeah, there's a new GarageBand update coming out. Go check it out. So yeah. Plenty of stuff. There you go. I saved your iPhone SE Gen 1. Look, a lot of people found me from those videos. It's very, very strange. But cool. I dig it. Alrighty, we are done. I am the toothpick guy, exactly. I sell more toothpicks through Amazon than any other person. That is going to do it for this one. 2 hours of Q&A. I really do thank you. I had a list of topics that I did not touch because you folks brought the awesome with all of your wonderful questions that we managed to get through all of. I have no more tagged questions. So, yeah, please, if you are watching on the replay and you do have a question, leave it in the comments because as you just saw, I check them all out. I do read them. I answer each and every one of them as best I possibly can. There's a few things you can do for me before you head off, and that is to hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. That just helps tell the YouTube robots to go and tell all the other YouTube robots that you had some fun here today. You can share this if you want. If you've got other people that you think, hey, we had a really good time. We had 2 hours of cool Q&A. You might find something that will help you out. Then feel free to share the show as well. And check out all the links down in the description. Join the Discord, join the Facebook group, become a Patreon supporter, or leave a donation. Because again, as we discussed in this show, this is my full-time gig, and it's only because of wonderful folks like you that we keep the lights on around here. So I thank you all for your amazing support. I will be back with a happy hour show in just 2 days' time. So you get a day off from me, but I'll be back with my big happy hour show, and that's going to be about the number 4. Oh, yes. So you will be dumped there. It will put you right there. Feel free to set yourself a reminder and give that one a pre-thumbs up, and I'll join you for some cool acoustic tunes in exactly 48 hours from now. That is going to do it for this one. Please, as we say at the end of every show, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep creating, and I'll see you next time on Studio Live today. Bye for now.